Yeah. It's the mafia. Yeah.
He's a monkey with cymbals in his hands instead of just catching the foot.
And
that's this.
They're giving us like a 24-hour go feed. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a Bill City. Yeah, a Buffalo Bill City. Yeah, we got Josh Allen, got Steph.
I know they mentioned something about an ultrasound to check the nerve endings and everything.
Hopefully
else
he's not pregnant. That would be a disaster. I hear that's a 9-month timeline to recover from at the minimum, is what I've heard.
Yeah, Ike McKenzie on a jet sweep, maybe it's a fake. Honestly, it's a TD either way when you got Josh Allen making plays. Win a ball before we get a new stadium.
Someone's making a new Twitter at some point. Maybe we should do that.
Honestly, I'll just start a shared Google Doc, and that'll be our new Twitter. That'll be our new Twitter.
Just people just adding shit in.
Anonymous hedgehog is saying "fuck your mom." Like.
This is our team forever. It is forever. We got Josh Allen, got
Folks, I didn't mess up the intro. There's no graphic on the screen. Great start. Welcome into the Crowdus podcast presented by Trainwreck Sports. Wake here with my good friend Jake Micah and Bridget Jancarz from the Believe podcast network, right? I almost nailed this. I almost nailed the beginning.
Bengals podcast.
Yeah, the number one Bengals podcast on Twitter. You can find them at number one Bengals or number one podcast. What's the
number one Bengals?
Number one Bengals.
We couldn't get around to adding podcast to the name. Too lazy.
Yeah, we also can't get the O in Trainwreck.
Twitter names. Don't even get me started, Bridget. Don't even get me started. I feel you there.
Yeah, he is gonna sue Elon so that he can be the Jake Micah. And
I
no
like
one just stop him. Yeah, right.
I've searched at Jake Micah. No, I am the Jake Micah currently. I've searched at Jake Micah, and I've reported him like 30 times because the man has not tweeted since 2012. And I'm just like, come on. Like, that's all I want in my life. Like, I don't ask for a lot, and it hasn't worked yet. So maybe this conversation. Exactly.
Yeah. And all Jake Micah wants is to be Jake Micah on Twitter. I know all Bengals and Bills fans are hoping for is a great weekend of football, and it doesn't start at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It starts as soon as you hit the tailgate lots in Orchard Park, and again, we will be with the Buffalo Red Zone tailgate. Maniac is going to be there. Slick L. Last week, Captain Ferdinand got Frank the Tank on Bacon, Egg, and Captain. Great stuff going on over there at the Red Zone tailgate this weekend from 11:30 until 2:30 p.m. right behind O'Neill's, right across the street from the stadium. Pop in on your walk over, make a little pit stop, play some cornhole. It's the place to be before the Bills-Bengals game this weekend. And let's say we host the Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC Championship game. It's going to be the place to be there too. But lots to get to before we get there. Bridget, both of our teams really squeaked through the wild card round in ways that both of us can probably say we don't know if either of our teams, based on last week alone, really earned their way here. Now, we've had a lot of discourse on the Bills side of Twitter this week about all the things that went wrong for that game to be so close, and there were a lot of them. But walk us through what happened with the Bengals, because I'm watching that Hendrickson return fumble for a touchdown.
Hubbard,
I'm ignorant. Never gonna say I was. Never said I wasn't. But all I could think of was Taron Johnson a few years ago. Same deal, like 90+ yard, maybe 100-yard interception for a touchdown to get the Ravens out of the playoffs in a position where they were basically ready to take the lead in that football game. Similar sorrows for the Ravens, but thankfully for you, the Bengals are moving on. We'll be in Orchard Park this weekend, but talk to us about kind of what happened and what.
So wait,
take the floor.
Remember it as the Hubbard Yard Dash, and you'll
the
never.
Hubbard Yard Dash.
I didn't come up with it. Someone on Twitter did, and it's the greatest thing ever. People are calling it like the fumble in the jungle. Yeah, the Hubbard Yard Dash is my favorite. So you'll never forget it.
That's it.
Both of our teams may have squeaked by, but I want to make something very, very clear first and foremost. When you get to playoff football, all the teams are good, except if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and you have no business being there. Like, I'm not a Cowboys fan,
I hate.
But how
teams.
mad would you be if your team had won, like, what, 3-4 more games than the team you had to go travel to because of some dumb playoffs? So you have to remember, when you get to playoff football, every team is good. So I want to say this. Ravens may have been playing Tyler Huntley. That is not Lamar Jackson. But Tyler Huntley is a lean, swift dude. So he is good on his feet. At one point in the game, may have been around halftime, they showed the top 5 speed stats on the Jumbotron, and Tyler Huntley was the top. He was about 20 miles an hour. Joe Burrow was third. I don't think we saw Mixon on there. But, like, that is... Tyler Huntley is nobody to sneeze at. Then you have to remember the Ravens have one of the top 3 defenses, maybe top 3 defense in the league. That
always
is
hard to play
strong.
Against. Those linebackers are good over there.
They are a good defense. We knew they were gonna really keep our run in check. And then you've got the best freaking kicker in the NFL. Dude's gonna make it from where. That's kind of just a non-starter. Guy's gonna... So that's what I had to remind everyone, because there were some Bengals fans that were like, oh, easy, and what was it, a 9-point spread? And I was like, nah.
Yeah.
No, the Raiders were not as good last year when we played them in the wild card game, and we still only won by 7 points, and it was a very similar scenario. I had just had a few more vodkas last year and wasn't totally as clued in as I was this year. So that's my lead up. So Bengals fans, we were ready for this. We knew what was coming. I was prepared for it to be just an all-out dogfight, because those dudes weren't coming to play nice either. We knew they weren't coming to play nice. We were ready for them not coming to play to play nice against us. That's why you've got who was it who punched Mixon in the stomach while he was down? Doesn't matter. But they weren't coming to
Some
play
may say he deserves it, but you know what? I will not be the some to say that. I am not some.
It's your show. I'm just looking at it.
It's a thing with just playing a team third time in a year too, but especially with a team like the Ravens, I think that they're just built, like you said, to make it a grind, make it a slugfest. I was on plus 8.5 Ravens simply for that reason. I thought it was like, just felt like it was going to be a close game, and it's not. I don't think it's indicative of anything that we should worry about, or I mean, you should worry about, I guess, more saying this in this scenario with the Bengals, except maybe for the biggest question that I have, that I think the biggest question everybody has about this game is, what can we really expect from the offensive line and everything else? Because I think that's the only thing that I can glean. Like, I think that's the only thing. And really, because the Bills and Ravens, such different defenses, such different approaches, stylistically, philosophically, everything. Like, it's really hard to take anything from that. But just like how, like, 1 to 10, what's your meter going into Sunday? And I'm sure it's probably going to change before Sunday.
What
over the next 2
are
days.
my ends of the spectrum?
10, you're extremely worried, terrified, sweating in your sleep. 1, chilling.
That's a good scale.
I don't want to be haughty, but I'm at like a 4.
That's fine.
4? Okay.
I'm at
Now, where
a
does
4.
that come from?
Well,
is that confidence in the backups? Is it confidence in Joe Burrow?
well,
Like, how do you feel?
I think Jake mentioned how hard it is to meet a team twice in 1 year. Bengals don't worry about that. What's up, Patrick Mahomes? We see you. You're not scared. We're not scared. We made it to the Super Bowl with a far more inferior offensive line.
That's true.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow is better this year than he was last year. He's using his feet, and I know this is a hard team to talk about with a quarterback who is literally elite. Josh Allen is elite on his feet, and the dude's a moose. I think I said this last show. Dude is 240 pounds running at you with a strong arm and a high football IQ and a lot of nimbleness. Like that makes me more worried, though, honestly, than the offensive line. I feel like we've got guys who are in a kind of next man up mentality. Is it going to be an elite offensive line? Absolutely not. Like, I don't think any Bengals fan is coming in thinking that, but I think our quarterback and our receivers and even our tight end are sharper than they were last year, and so that's what has me at a 4.
Well,
now,
I can promise.
Go ahead, Jake.
I'm going to let you go in a second because I can promise you just one thing. Hayden Hurst is going to have 8 catches for like 96 yards and a touchdown in this game.
Yeah.
Because that is the epitome of Buffalo Bills football, is for the tight end to go off. And I've just been seeing Hayden Hurst coming back. I've been watching. I remember seeing him in so many key games this year. Burrow loves to go to him. Look at that. We have a lot of cat action here.
We do. Yeah, this is Mama.
There we go. Double it up.
Mine is.
Oh,
well, but she usually pops on, but
he does not like being held though, so I'm gonna let him go. But he's sitting here very calmly.
She's usually thrilled about it, honestly, but she just wants me to play with the little wand with the rocket ship and catnip at the end of it.
Seems like you guys are cat fans.
Big cat fans, but also
Tiger's a cat.
Tigers are technically cats. Technically.
Stripes. Bengals.
Yeah, I see the parallels. I see the line you're drawing.
She's
and I don't like it.
Nobody's got a pet buffalo, do they?
I wouldn't recommend.
I don't know
that
if it's
to
legal.
anybody.
How many states do you think it's legal to own a buffalo in?
None. They're American
Probably.
treasures. None.
They are American treasures. True.
Can
I was in
ask?
Colorado. Go ahead. Yeah, ask whatever.
Well, I just wanted to know who saw Jamar Chase at the end of our, media team gives him the cell phone or whatever and say, "We're on to play the Buffaloes." Anyone?
I saw that. I did see that.
No, that's funny.
I wanted to get your take on that because I think
I love that.
We might all start calling you the Buffaloes.
I like that better than
it's
the
our
Bills,
logo.
to be honest. Yeah.
Buffalo Bill is famous for literally slaughtering and almost extinctifying, a word I just made up right now, the species of buffalo. So I think that we would be paying a better homage to the origins of our city's name if we were the Buffalo Buffaloes. But that's just me.
It is a really
back to when you were
football name.
Oh, it is. You were going through the offense and saying, like, yeah, I'm confident in Burrow. I'm confident in our receivers. I'm confident in Hayden Hurst. But you didn't say the running backs. And so, and so I kind of wanted to, like, Uber Hansen from Bill's Twitter, he put out a little tweet the other day comparing Singletary and Mixon and P. Ryan. So credit to him for putting this together. Singletary and Cook on 30 less attempts.
I'm scared to hear this.
Have 1,413 yards to Mixon and P. Ryan's 1,250. Have 8 touchdowns to their 9 touchdowns. So about even. We'll give them the edge, obviously. But they're averaging about a yard more per carry. So it seems, and I never thought I would say this, but it seems like the Bills running backs are superior to the Bengals at this point.
I will be the first one to admit that our ground game is not our strongest point.
And with P. Ryan kind of coming on, like he was always someone that I kind of just was just like, oh yeah, he's a backup in the league. He's a backup's backup. Everyone knows what he is, but like he's even kind of impressed when Mixon's been out. So like, is it maybe like giving P. Ryan a little bit more legs even when Mixon is healthy, or like what? How do you feel about it?
There is a stat I saw somewhere in the last couple weeks about P. Ryan not being as quick, maybe as Mixon, but here. Joe Mixon is one of the components of the heart and soul of the Bengals team. So I don't want to take that away. He is the hype man. If you ever see him, especially at a Cincinnati game, he's like up on the bench. Like, so he's done a lot for the team. This has been a hard season. Absent the Carolina game, which I'm going to hold as an anomaly, because the Carolina defense was just abysmal. Like, I think I could have gotten out there and scored a couple tutties on them.
Probably.
I feel like your spin move's pretty good. Don't sell yourself short.
Might be good. My speed's certainly not good, but I've evaded a dude or two in my lifetime. Mixon's just not been top notch. Now, the folks who sit by me in my seats at the stadium know I am a huge P. Ryan fan. Dude has a huge shelf, pushes him through, got that big old booty. He's got this build that just allows him. I feel like he is able to move through. And then he's made just really clutch plays for us. Tennessee game, huge. I mean, we'll all remember, or everyone in the Bengals fandom will remember P. Ryan for that kind of momentum-changing touchdown in the AFC Championship game. So I, in my very minimal football expertise, would play P. Ryan over Mixon, but that is not a highly accepted opinion in my fandom.
I think that if there's one thing that the casual fan is most often right about when it comes to football, it's when to put in a running back in over another. I feel like that's the one thing. Like, people fall in love with random quarterbacks all the time. Like Cooper Rush is like, someone that people thought could start over Dak. Obviously not a thing.
I was one of those people.
See, me too. But I knew
I was like, don't put Dak's back in. Foolish.
I'm famous for, at least in my own mind, for thinking that Dak is the definition of mid. And I know Micah and I, we've shared this sentiment that Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, and Derek Carr are basically the three-way Spider-Man meme, just all pointing at each other. But I think that when like, even with is there another example of this? Like, I can't think of one off the top of my head. Maybe David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert over in Chicago. It's clear that Khalil Herbert is the more explosive back.
Pollard and Zeke
Pollard
is the most egregious.
Pollard and Zeke is the best one. You're right. That's the one.
And it's flipped a little bit finally, but I mean, it was so obvious all year long that Pollard should be getting 20, 25 touches, and but it is straight. And I think it's I still, regardless of everything, I looked at the running back stats, and I knew that even before coming into this game, knew that Mixon wasn't having as strong of a year as he's had in years past. But in a one-game situation, still think that those two guys can make if they make a dynamic play. We saw Matt Milano, who all-pro linebacker, missed a very key tackle in a drive that ended up in points for the Dolphins last week. And I mean, like, those are the types of just especially with this game, though the game could come down to a missed tackle like that in the open field with a P. Ryan and Mixon. And those are two guys who have, let alone in the NFL, been in big games, been in huge games since their college careers at Oklahoma too. And like all the guys on that Bengals side, I think, especially offensively, I know that they're all battle tested in some ways, whether it's college or obviously last year and everything else. I think that's the biggest thing with me, and like Bridget, with you with the offensive line, you said a 4. Like, that's kind of where I'm at too. Like, Bills fans are all excited, the spread's flying up because of it and everything else. I'm like, I mean, if I was a bettor, I'd probably just hammer the Bengals at the 5.5 if it goes to 6, whatever else, because they're gonna find a way. Like, these guys are just gonna find a way to battle and be in this game, even if it is evident at some point that they're overmatched by the defense. I just feel like they're gonna scrap some way. Is that like indicative of the personality you think that they've shown this year? I'll just keep it to this year rather than last year.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is an offense too. So we're on a 9-game winning streak, just so y'all know.
True.
Yeah, we're on 8. We're 8-game winning streak. So iron sharpens iron.
9 is more than 8. Just
I'm
Bills
not,
fans
I'm not a
math.
I don't. Okay, congrats on going to college. I don't know.
Thank you. That was a very wasted 4 years of my life.
Yeah, I went to 3 and 5 years. I promise I wasted more time than you.
We are a scrappy team, but here's what I like about us, especially coming out of the bye, minus I think the Browns game, the one in Cleveland, was maybe our first game coming out of the bye, maybe not, but that was sort of, I think, a turning point where the dudes were like, yo, we can't let this happen again. But what I've seen from our offense, and this is going to be interesting with the offensive line dynamic, is we are really, I'm going to say unbeatable, and I know that sounds like a dramatic term. I mean, we could win by 1, we could win by 3, we could win by 7, we could win by 20, but we're pretty unbeatable when we get a fast offensive start. What starts to make me nervous is, we've embraced, if we win the toss, take the ball. And when we can get 7 up on a first drive, that really sets the momentum. I think the Monday night game, that was I can't remember if we won the toss. We got the ball first. I can't remember.
Yeah,
if
you
was
did.
because
won
we won
the toss. You guys won the toss, asked for the ball, because I remember them vividly saying like, "Oh, this is interesting. They're asked for the ball," and I sent out a tweet immediately that said, "The Bills are the worst defense at scripted drives in the NFL this year," and immediately the Bengals went down the field and scored. And I think that's a great point you just made, and a thing that if they win another toss, they will try to do again, because this Bills defense has been susceptible on those scripted drives, because I have to text my family members that text me flipping out about the defense every week and remind them scripted drive. It won't, like, so many times they've gone down 7-0 where it's been 7-7.
I could name drop,
and then the game
ends
31-10
in our group chat every single week.
Yeah. And then the rest of the game,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So I feel like that's an indicator. It's not the sole indicator, but I will be interested if we get the ball first and have either a 3-and-out or just something that doesn't really get us past midfield, whether or not like McPherson can make a 54, 56 yarder. If we can't offensively get the ball past midfield on that first drive, I would really start questioning Cincinnati's chance. I know that's doomsday and it's the first drive, but that has seemed to be a bit of a game changer. And when we can't do that, the pendulum really swings the other way.
Well, I would say
that exact same. Go ahead, Dick.
I would say too, part of the thing that happened to the Dolphins last week, and maybe one of the things that could be the maybe biggest effect of the offensive line being like a different group that hasn't played as much together, is the Dolphins. And this isn't going to happen with Joe Burrow. The Dolphins had an absurd amount of pre-snap penalties last week, and it was mostly delay of games, but those can, with the crowd and everything else, is really the biggest differentiator in this game to me at all. If the game was in Cincinnati, I think I'd be flipped on my amount of confidence.
It was loud in there on that Monday night. Loud. I mean, loud for 9 minutes, and then literally you could drop a pin.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's gonna be a huge indicator just to see how those guys, just any offensive. I'm interested in any scenario. I'm gonna be interested to see the Giants' young offensive line, and really they're like in that game, like just those pre-snap penalties, before you know it, you're on 1st and 15 or 2nd and 15 and everything else, and you're really in a tough spot. That's really the only thing I can think of, though, that the only indicator I think that would, maybe be of something else to think about with the offense off of the side of the ball for the Bengals. I can't really think of anything else. I'm interested, though, Bridget, on your thoughts on the defensive side of the ball, because for me, it's just a solid unit all the way around, and I don't really know how. I've been trying to think of how the Bills are going to attack them, but the Bills are also kind of weird where they're just going to do whatever the Bills do at this year. It's different than years past the Bills teams. Dable would change his game plan every week. This is more just the Bills are going to do what they do. So what do you think the Bengals are going to do defensively?
So I am counting on the backfield to really keep their eye on those 15-yard plus passes from Allen, because we are counting on the Josh Allen that leads the league in multi-interceptions in a game. I mean, as good as Josh Allen is, the one thing that gives me comfort is that he's usually good for a turnover. And so our defense can't just get the ball. We need to score points if Allen's going to go ahead and be a little risky and give that to us. Was it Jermaine? I think it was Jermaine Pratt who in week 18 recovered the Ravens. The Ravens fumbled in our end zone. Pratt just falls on the ball. We get a tutty. Hubbard obviously has that really impressive play, but those might be the only 2 defensive scores we've had all season.
I think I remember when you joined us ahead of Monday Night Football, you predicted a defensive score. Yeah, you predicted it for that night. Yeah,
and it took a long time. I'm hoping that Hubbard energy for them, and and what I think is really cool about the defensive unit, I can't remember, Wake, if I told you. So I had a chance to bowl with defensive line. It was me, 2 friends, and the D-line guys in early December, and they are like this. They respect one another as teammates, respect one another as people, care very deeply about each other. And I think that's because of the wizard, Lou Anarumo, that coaches. I mean, if you ask a Cincinnati fan, who do you most count on the Cincinnati defense? They're probably going to say Lou Anarumo. There's something he does, especially in the second half. We are notoriously a second half team, and I'm glad we can close it out, because the first iteration of my Bengals fandom was a team that could perform okay in the first half and just shit the bed in the second. Just couldn't maintain a lead, couldn't make tackles, and so I'd rather have them able, like in our game against Tampa, I'd rather have us go down 0-17 and come back and win by a healthy margin than anything else. But Lou can do something, and so that's why we as a fandom aren't ever too discouraged by what the score is at the half, because that's something he can cook. And we don't know how he does it. We just don't know. But he's our gold star.
It's similar to Leslie Frazier. Like, we will have two of the best defensive coordinators in the entire NFL going at each other. Not head to head, obviously, because they don't coach against each other. But, it's really interesting because it's the same thing with Leslie. Like, we talked earlier. Micah mentioned it. You mentioned how the Bengals scored on their first drive. I remember Jacoby Brissett looked like prime Tom Brady when the Bills played the Browns this year. And that was like, oh my God, this is going to go on all day. And to his credit, it kind of did. But for the most part, the Bills were able to button up, good second half adjustments. I think until like more than halfway through the year, they didn't allow points in the third quarter. If I'm not mistaken, Micah, was it the third or the second quarter where we just hadn't allowed points through at least the first 10 weeks of the season?
I think it was the third quarter. Like I think it was the third quarter. Yeah.
So it wouldn't shock me if we had like a high scoring game through the first two quarters, and then in the last two frames, maybe 14 points total, 13 points total. Wouldn't shock me at all with these two teams.
For the first 7 or 8 weeks of the season, the Bengals defense didn't allow a touchdown in the second half.
Impressive.
I mean, I'm just really excited. Hands down, this is the best matchup of the weekend. Like, oh my God, I think you can't really say anything else. I am rooting for a Jags upset over the Chiefs. We all are. And if it happens, that's great. I think if the Chiefs ring around the rosy all the way to a 20-point victory, nobody's going to be surprised.
No.
Nobody.
I will say I'm hoping for that because I may have tickets to Atlanta in case that game happens. So
that's true.
I have tickets.
And you have tickets to Cincinnati.
A Jags.
That was my only response to the Joe Mixon thing when I saw that this week. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, right.
Of course, Joe Mixon's gonna say that. Like, what player defending their team would not say something like that? I'd be mad if he did it. But I was also like, well, I'm mad that the Bengals are selling Jags-Bengals tickets to their home game. Like, what are we talking about?
This whole thing is so wild. And the blow-up over this, because,
it's logistics. People got a plan. We got to get flights. We got to do some shit.
let me just check. Because I feel, and this was before that, I mean, I got an AFC Championship ticket right here. That's been in my app since
it's just been sitting there, yeah.
So it's there. Wake, when you asked me to come on the show, I was like, I am going to do a 20-second stand on how mad we are at the NFL. Because I think that's
20 seconds starts now.
That's where we're a little heated. Is we felt like we got a raw deal, and the raw deal is basically that the assumption was just that we would lose, and none of the other there were no other assumptions that we would win. So that's it. I'll say that. But
I mean,
on the other side of that.
I'm in complete agreement. The coin flip was horrible.
The coin flip thing, if you just take that away, you could at least argue that it was almost fair.
I really think this game should have been a coin flip, if anything else. But if I said that on Bill's Twitter, I probably would have gotten.
We won't put it on Twitter. We'll just say I also agree that it would have been a coin flip.
That makes the most sense in the world, right? Like if it was these two teams, you have it here, and then what does it matter? You don't even have to change the game in Arrowhead, or you just do a coin flip for Bills Chiefs next week too, if you really wanted to. Just all the coin flips. You know how many people would watch those coin flips? ESPN NFL coin flip at 11 o'clock. It'd be like 30 million people.
I'm surprised the sports book lobby didn't get in on this because they could. How much money could you have made on just betting? Yes.
Well, I would have.
Wow.
That's
a missed opportunity. It's a missed opportunity. So
the world does need more coin flips.
We're aligned there, though. Yeah. For sure.
I mean, Wake, you might need to go work for Goodell. I think he's looking for a young gun who's into the coin flips. But that was...
Let me put my big boy shirt on, yeah.
That was the only thing I think that... So, unfortunately, maybe some of the players or some of the media don't know quite how ticket sales work and all
I think they do know. I think it's just a way to get some engagements and rile everybody up, you know?
It might be.
The game works. I know
it might be, or it might be the let's go play the Buffaloes. Who knows? Who knows?
Exactly. That's exactly. Yeah.
That's true.
Good Lord. But not the only game being played this weekend. I feel like we touched on pretty much every aspect of this game in a weird and roundabout way. So kudos to us. We're incredible at what we do, clearly. But other games this weekend, Chiefs-Jags. Do you feel you said obviously you're rooting for the Jags because you would love for the Bengals to be able to host an AFC Championship game? Realistically, though, like how do you feel about their chances? Because no one hates the Chiefs defense more than I do. No one thinks they are more trash than me.
This is interesting because the ascension of Trevor Lawrence has been really fascinating. I mean, if you look at the front half of the season, I sat there and was like, can you imagine like Lawrence played Burrow in the college championship? Like, what a joke. Burrow's so superior in skill.
He got blown out there too.
Exactly. But I don't know. Do I realistically or logically think it's probably going to be the Chiefs? Sure. Better team all the way around. But I'm not discounting the young, Herbal Essence's man with that hair flip.
He's sunshine. Yeah. He's sunshine. That's my...
What do you think that hair smells like?
Oh.
So I actually saw a tweet that said it probably smells like Garnier Fructis number 2 or so. I don't know what that is. I use Paul Mitchell.
Oh my God. Yeah, no,
that's right? You can smell it. Yeah. This is smell-o-vision, everyone. You can smell what that is.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't think... So, okay, I will be honest. Aside from maybe the NFL wanting to write a Brady story, I thought there was no way the Buccaneers win that game. No way. They are just an inferior team and inferior to the other 13 teams in the playoffs. I don't feel that the Jags are... I don't feel like that matchup for me is as skewed. So I think it's going to be the Chiefs, but I think the Jags have a chance.
I think there's a lot of interesting things with that game. Bridget, I had a hilarious Saturday night last week because I tweeted on Thursday or Wednesday something about it was actually Lawrence over Herbert, no shade to Justin. This is just where I'm at. And then I proceeded to watch Trevor Lawrence throw first half picks, and I'm like, well, I had some buddies go, and they just Jay Spence. Just he quoted me and just put eye emojis. I quoted myself. The old takes exposed. I was like, listen, I'm gonna take this one on the chin. This was one of my worst things. And then the second half happened. And first of all, I think it's more Chargers than anything the Jags did. But I do think the confidence of Doug Peterson is something to speak of and just the confidence that he can obviously instills in them in every game. The Doug Peterson, Andy Reid factor, extremely interesting. They've never coached against each other in a game. of this magnitude yet. So I'm really interested to see what the chess match is there. But I think the biggest advantage and where the Jazz can keep it close is that defensive line. I know that the Chiefs' offensive line is incredible and is one of the strengths of their team. But if that defensive line can hit Mahomes, and they are talented across that board, they can get. I think they can get to him and hit him. And if you hit Mahomes, that is where they drop from scoring 30s and moving the ball all the way. You know it exactly. It's right into the 20s.
I was going to say, I can say
like,
it as a Bengals fan in both the week 17 game and then the AFC Championship. We held the Chiefs to 3 points in the second half, both games. If Mahomes was sacked more. He was able to get out of the pocket a few times, but wasn't like nothing doing with the rest of the defense. So I agree with you completely. Like Mahomes, when he's going to 75% of the time, he's going to make some killer throw. There's no doubt Mahomes is probably going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this game. And there's that 25% of the time when the defense is just the it factor, the opposing team's defense. And that's what I think is going to give us a game.
Yeah. I agree.
Surprising.
And I will say the Bills' regular season wins over the Chiefs were the same thing. The Chiefs scored 20 points in both those games too. And it was hits on Mahomes. And I think Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen, out of the three of them, if you hit Mahomes, he's the one that's going to be affected by the most. Burrow does not care. He will literally die in the pocket.
Our whole last season is that story.
It's just Burrow just eating hits all day. Josh Allen does not care about his well-being. Will stay in the pocket, do anything.
Nope.
Mahomes is the most bothered by it. The problem is he either A, makes some ridiculous throw that bails him out, or B, he has the best offensive line out of the three teams, and he doesn't really get touched that much. And I just think that there are teams that are built to take advantage of that, and I think the Jags maybe are one of them. Or it's like 41-16, and it's just not even close.
It's a coin flip. Could be either.
It's a coin flip. It's like a 20-sided coin with that one, though. Oh my goodness. Eagles Giants. This one has the potential. We'll say the potential to be the most fun game of the weekend. However, I don't know. I think the Eagles are like semi-fraudulent. Like they're not capital FRAUDS frauds.
They're not Vikings fraudulent.
They're not Vikings frauds.
How healthy is Jalen Hurts?
That's the thing. And he's not on the injury report, so maybe they're trying to make us think that he's more healthy than he is. But like their wins this season were not the most impressive wins. Like there's been that graphic going around around Twitter and everything, literally making a new excuse for why they aren't good based on every single win. Like they gave up 35 points to the Detroit Lions, which that actually winning against the Lions, I won't knock them on that one though. But then they beat Kirk and the Vikings, frauds. They beat the Commanders, terrible. They beat the Jaguars, who before they were good. Okay, congratulations.
That was a game too.
Beat the Cardinals. That was a game, yeah. And then they beat the Cardinals on a weekend when Modern Warfare 2 came out, so that didn't matter at all. They beat the Cowboys, who I'm pretty sure that was in Cooper Rush. Yep. They beat the Steelers when they were really bad. They beat the Texans. Okay, great. They lost to the Connies. Good for them again. Yeah, that makes sense. Like Colts, Packers, Titans, this is just it's such a
hell of a schedule. I want that schedule.
It felt like the Bills schedule back in the Houston playoff year. Where it was just so easy and people are like, this team is not as good as you might think they are, and everybody except for Bills Mafia was willing to say that.
That is the thing about Jalen Hurts that we have not seen yet. And I'm not saying he can't do it, but I've said this a couple times on this podcast and I've said it other places. We haven't seen him get punched in the mouth in an NFL game that means something, that is important, and where things are not going right or everything going right for them. We did see it. We saw it last year against Tampa, and he was horrible, and they got blown out of the water. But they're a different team this year. He's a different quarterback this year. So I'm willing to put that result aside and come into this game with a new, just open mind on what he can do. But we still haven't seen it. And what if they go down 14-3 to the Giants, which can happen? I think that Brian Daboll, if we know anything, a kitchen sink Brian Dable game, they are going to try the most absurd shit. Saquon Barkley's throwing a touchdown to Isaiah Hodgins, like or other way around. Like these are the things that they're going to try. And I don't know if the Eagles are going to be ready for that. I don't know if Hurts is ready for that yet. I'm not like saying that this is, I'm taking the Giants points for sure. But and I just want to see it. If Hurts does it on Saturday, then I'll have a lot different thoughts going into the NFC title game. But we haven't seen it yet, so let's see it.
Mm-hmm. I want a Philly Niners title game.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
It's gonna be a fun one.
I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but I love the Niners. I love like what we're seeing from the Niners right now.
Sure. How can't you?
I think so. Bengals Bills total. I shouldn't say a total toss up. That is a very well matched team. There's certainly some where we're not strong, you are, but I think, the opposite is true in some areas. I want to believe in the Eagles, so I'm going to go Eagles. I think it's going to be really close, but maybe it's just the Always Sunny fandom, the episodes they did on the superstitions. I'll wear green tomorrow. I'll eat brown, drink yellow, or whatever that is. But I'm going Philly. I want it to be true. I want that to be true for them.
That's how most of the picks I make happen. So that completely makes sense. And that's why I also think Sunday Night Football, every rational thing in my head says the Dallas Cowboys will probably win this football game. But I actually think that it's the Purdy Express is just going to keep going. The 49ers coming into this year, I said that they were the most complete roster in all of football if you take quarterback out of the equation. Now, I don't even think you have to say if you take quarterback out of the equation. I think they are still the most complete football team in this league, by far and away the most complete one, maybe the most well-coached out of all the teams left, maybe minus the Chiefs. I would love to say the Bills are the best coached team in football, but, Ken Dorsey has had his detractions. Sean McDermott, his play management, his clock management hasn't reared its ugly head so far in a long time this year. But I want to see him really fully execute in the playoffs before I put him ahead of someone like Andy Reid. Long way to say, I really, really want the 49ers to beat the shit out of the Cowboys. I think Dak Prescott throws at least 2 interceptions this weekend.
I think the Niners defense against a Cowboys offense, that Niners defense is something else.
They are terrifying.
Find the Cowboys offense. I mean, it's hard because if you look at the wild card weekend, you'd be like, oh, the Cowboys offense, and they just keep getting it in the end. I don't know. Purdy is what, 5-0, 6-0?
Yeah.
You've got this amazing.
I think he's 6-0 with at least 2 touchdowns in every game.
You got this amazing defense. I will strongly say that the Niners should have won the NFC Championship last year. You want to talk about a team that's a bunch of frauds. The Los Angeles Rams. Holy cow. And everyone will be like, Bridget, you're salty. They beat you in the Super Bowl. Barely. And that team didn't... The Rams, if you look at their whole season last year, I was like, they just barely eked by the Niners.
It was pretty incredible that they ended up in the Super Bowl out of the NFC. All those NFC teams last year, and it was the Rams. I was like, wow.
Everything had to break right for them, being carried by so many superstars. That can only get you by for so long, and that so long is until all of them get hurt, which happened this year.
Or until the officials give them the game. But
Yeah.
So I'm going Niners on that one. I just think they're gonna ride this season, and I think the Cowboys may be complete, but I think they have been far too inconsistent this year. Yeah. So give me San Fran.
Love that.
I'm taking the Dallas points. I don't know if
the Niners
are okay. I don't know if the Niners are going to win. I might pick the Cowboys to win this game. Mind you, I do have the Cowboys in a Super Bowl pick that I kind of want to stand by because I've thought as you just said, Bridget, they are a very complete team. I don't trust them. I don't trust Dak Prescott. I hate Mike McCarthy, especially in situations like this. But if anybody can just put a little bit of a stop to this Purdy train, it's going to be Micah Parsons. Let's be honest, who has been the best defensive player in the league and is a singular force. So if there is a script for the Cowboys to win this game, it is an ugly football game. I think that's what we're getting. I think we're maybe first team to 20 points wins this game. And that might sound crazy with the offensive explosions they both put up, but I just think these defenses have studs, and Parsons and Bosa and those guys are going to come out and look to have an effect on the game. And I think those are big game players who just game wreck the whole time. And it's really just who can put it together. And that's what, again, like we find out about Hurts. We're going to find out a lot about Purdy. Like it was pretty easy for him last week, even a playoff game, all things considered. This Cowboys defense, even at home, everything else, much different animal. I still think I'm going to pick the Niners. I think like 20-18, 19-16, something like that. But it's going to be a gross grind fest.
Yep. Brock Purdy meets Micah Parsons. Classic case of unstoppable force meets immovable object on Sunday Night Football. Absolutely love it. Sunday is by far the better day of football between the 2 days, and I'm really happy that the Bills and Bengals are a part of that. Also very happy, Bridget, that you were able to join us tonight on a Friday night. Very grateful. Tell people if they want to get some insight into the Bengals, where they can find everything you're doing.
Totally. Before I do that, on behalf of the Houday Nation, I have to say we are so happy about DeMar. Sending him so much love. I live about 10 minutes from the University of Cincinnati Trauma Center, and so shout out to all of our docs who took care, and obviously the Bills training staff, like literally lifesavers. So just have to give that shout out, and we were truly like one team, one family that night. So glad to hear he's doing well and he's home. You can find me on @Bridget Jancarz, totally phonetic, great name, on Twitter. Number one Bengals podcast on the Believe Network. We usually show up on Mondays around 7:30, and then I'm also on the Morning Prowl, which is a usually Sunday morning show during the season.
Love it. Love to hear it. Well, I know I'll be checking out you on Sunday morning this week, or when-ish morning, whenever that does happen.
9:30-ish. But thanks so much for having me on. I love talking to you guys, and we love the Bills Mafia. So thanks so much.
Well, of course. Appreciate it. We'll catch up in the off-season sometime for sure. Maybe pregame. Who knows? We'll figure it out. But this will do it for us here on the Crowd Assist Podcast. Shout out Outlet Liquor. Shout out Pizza. And shout out this little shindig that we will be a part of this weekend, right behind O'Neill's across the street from the stadium. I said I'd pop in last week. I lied. I did not do it. I'll pop in this week.
I can't figure.
I'm lying. I'll let you know. Yeah, there you go. Is it which there we go. There we go. And we're covering up Bridget and wasting our time in the process. So we'll get out of here. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and good night now.